I'm Kayla. I am a Paralympic swimmer, and I have been swimming since 2007. I have been to 3 world championships and 2 other international competitions. I hold 4 world records and I think 39 national records. I am also on the school's robotics team, and I'm a team captain this year, project manager, as well as vice president, and I am vice president on the rocketry team.
I know you've had a lot of challenges in your life. Are you comfortable talking about your?
I'm fine.
condition?
Ask me absolutely anything.
Well, sure. What's the name of, you were born with the right?
Yes,
Okay.
I was born what's called a congenital amputee,
Okay.
which means missing limbs since birth.
Okay. How did your family react, do you think, or do they talk about it when they first found out?
So they didn't know until I was born. The ultrasound nurse didn't pick it up. It was kind of awkward. They actually measured my arm as a femur, which we found out later that was not a femur. It was in fact an arm. So I was born, and my mom was very shocked and actually cried for weeks on end, which hearing that later kind of is a little depressing to hear that your mother cried after you were born. But after that, and they kind of got over that, and my mom realized that I would actually have a somewhat successful life, and I wouldn't just be like vegetable person that sits in the corner of a room for the rest of my life. My mom and dad took on the idea that I could do anything that I put my mind to. So if I wanted to do ballet, they let me try ballet. If I wanted to jump rope, they let me try jump roping. Like, they didn't put limits on things that they thought I wouldn't be able to do because I was missing limbs, which was very nice. And I think without that, I definitely wouldn't be where I am today.
Mm-hmm. So your parents have been pretty supportive all your life, you think?
Oh yeah, they've been really supportive. I've done a whole bunch of things that they originally, when I said I wanted to do this, they're like, I don't know how you're gonna do that, but sure, we'll come up with an idea. Like, I've done skiing, I play baseball, I was in a ballet class with my brother when he was in preschool. The only 2 things that I wanted to do that I haven't been able to do yet are bungee jumping and skydiving, and that's because my mom says she wants me to be 18. She's like, I have not taken responsibility for signing those forms, but if you want to, once you're 18, sure, go ahead and do it. So besides that, there's not really anything that I haven't done. Like, I've been in musicals, I've done all these different crazy activities that a lot of people wouldn't do even if they had all of their limbs.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Many people who have faced adversity have said that their challenges have actually made them better and built their character even more. Do you think that being born this way has enabled you to become so successful and so passionate about certain things? Do you think it's helped you in a way?
Yes, I do. It's made me less likely to judge people, I guess. Like, because I know everyone is different, but I don't know if I necessarily would have gotten that message otherwise. Like, it's really hard to speculate as to what kind of person I would be if I had all my limbs, but at the same time, I feel like it probably did help, and it helps me want to help people more, because I've received so much help in my life from other people just because I've needed help, and I want to give back to people, and I don't know if I would necessarily have that same mindset if I didn't need all the help when I was younger, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
I also want to become a lawyer, actually a disability rights lawyer, which I definitely think I probably would want to do if I wasn't disabled in the first place, because I wouldn't have experienced some of the people against people with disabilities and some of the wrongdoings that people have done to people who have disabilities to want to be able to stick up for them in the first place. Really cool.
Yeah. I know you've been accepted to UW,
Yes,
right?
I have.
And you're going there in the fall?
Yes.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're you're going to study law at their pre-law program probably, or?
I'm actually not going to do pre-law, because the way I see it is if you get a pre-law degree and you don't end up going into law, then you have a pre-law degree that does like absolutely nothing. So I'm actually thinking about double majoring in psychology and Spanish, because then I can be a bilingual lawyer if I decide to go into law, which I'm pretty sure I'm going to. Or I could do something with the psychology degree and be a psychologist or something like that, and also still help people just in a different capacity.
Okay. What do you? I know you're a pretty inspirational person just by yourself, but has anyone, in your life or historically, who has inspired you to, keep going and achieve all these great things you've been able to do?
It's a lot of family, like my family who's always been there and says, oh, you can do anything. That's really helps me like keep going, because they're like, they've never said no, you can't do something. So that definitely helps me want to do more and just keep trying. But my swim coaches are also a really good example of people who have helped me keep going, because even if I feel like I couldn't do something in the pool, like they just stick by me until I did it. I've been trying to get under 6 minutes for my 200 freestyle like since I started swimming, and I just did it last year, and that's like they've been by me that entire time, and they're like, oh no, I know you can do it, it's gonna be this meet. Even if it wasn't that meet, they're like, it'll be the next one. So they're just always there. They're not like some coaches that I've seen that are like, oh, you're a failure because you didn't do it. They're always there, like, and they help in other parts of my life too, not just with swimming. My uncle passed away last year from cancer, and they actually came to the, like, we had we released sky lanterns at one of the meets because it was the 1 year anniversary of his death. And the coach went with us and signed it and like released the lanterns with us. And she had actually met him a couple times. So it's like they're almost like a family that's not really family too, which is really nice.
Cool. You mentioned earlier about your friend who was, treated so horribly at that other school just because she had a disability. Do you think MTHS is an accommodating school, or for people with disabilities, is it pretty supportive?
Definitely, yes. Like I said, I've seen how her school reacted to her after she had surgery on her feet and she couldn't walk and was in the chair. And that's I think definitely like a worst case. I've not seen too much of that. Terrace is pretty good. I can go talk to Schwab or Shirky or anyone really if I need anything changed. I've never really had problems with that here.
Okay. Next part is robotics. Yeah. So tell me about maybe how you got involved in robotics and how did you get interested, and yeah, how long have you been on the team too?
So I've only been on the team for 2 years. I started in my junior year. I thought robotics was interesting when I first heard about it, like going in. My mom's like, oh, look at this Project Lead the Way thing. Like, what do you think about it? And I'm like, oh, it's interesting, but it wasn't really my thing. I thought it was more something that my brother would like when he got into the school. But it was interesting. It wasn't like I was against it or anything. I just didn't want to necessarily focus on engineering for all 4 years of my high school experience. I kind of wanted to like try different things, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life yet, so I thought I'd try a whole bunch of different things. I didn't want to like commit myself to engineering right off the bat. But then my junior year, my friend talked me into joining rocketry because she was the one who was running the rocketry team at the time. She was going to be president. And so she's like, oh yeah, why don't you try it a couple weeks, see if we could be on the team together. So I tried it, and I was down in the shop for rocketry one day, and some of the girls on the all-girls robotics team were in the other room, and they were making a field by putting together like foam board and pipe cleaners and straws, and it was this really cool looking art project thing. And I'm like, hey, do you guys need any help? That looks fun. Can I try it? And they're like, yeah, sure, come. And they're almost done, but they're like, yeah, so you can do this stuff. And I really like art, so I'm like, okay, cool. I was putting all these pieces together, and then I started like talking to them about like, oh, what's the game that you guys are doing this year, and what is this robotics thing? And they were talking to me about it, and I just really got interested. And before I knew it, I had like a stack of papers that I was going through and reading, and they were like, okay, see you next Tuesday, we meet this time. And I was just on the team, and it wasn't like formally joining. I didn't show up to like the first meeting like everybody else does with all the information. I just kind of like showed up and started doing robot things. It was kind of weird but cool at the same time. And I've been on the team since then. So
cool. Is there a certain teacher or maybe other staff member at the school who's been sort of key in your experience here, who's made an impact on you that you can think of?
There's 3 main teachers at the school that I've kind of connected with from freshman year like on. It's been Mark Walker, the jewelry metal design teacher. It helped before the school year even started. We had the electives fair, like for the 8th graders to come in and like look at all the different electives and just try some things out. And I had no idea what I wanted to do for my electives. And his son was there, and his son's in a wheelchair. And I never thought that I could do like any of the jewelry and metal things. Like I just never really thought that would be a thing that I did. And then seeing that his son in the wheelchair doing it, it was like, oh, maybe I can do this. So I signed up for the class. I've actually been in the class now 3 years. This is my third. I took a break junior year, but yeah, I've been in jury medal for like 3 years in a row. And his son does basketball with my best friend that I talked about earlier. And so it was like this weird connection of this guy that like wasn't just a teacher. He was like this person that I kind of knew from other ways, and he knew disabled things. He was like very like, if any other teachers give you crap about anything, let me know, and I got the whole disabled thing handled. And if you need to talk to my son about anything like high schoolness, then sure, go ahead and do it. And it was really interesting to have like a teacher that connected in a different level besides just student teacher kind of relationship. Another one of those teachers is Miss Payne. Last year I had a weird thing where so freshman year I came from Madrona, so I didn't really know anyone. There was like 5 kids from like my class that came here, and for some reason when we started here in the fall, all of them like were trying to be cool and make new friends, so they kind of didn't want to admit that the rest of us existed from the group, so they like all spread off and like didn't talk to each other and didn't acknowledge each other in the hallways. And there's only one other girl that I like talked to. It was weird. I like had no one. I knew no one at the school because they all like went to Briar Terrace or all these different schools where they knew each other. They're like hanging out at lunch, and I'm just like the awkward person sitting with one other person that I know, and I'm like, do you know anyone? She's like, no, I don't know anyone. And so I didn't really have many friends freshman year, and I really started to make friends when I got into drama and I started dating a guy, and then I was kind of friends with his friends, and we broke up last year, and then I kind of lost those friends because they were mostly his friends, so I didn't really have any of my own friends, and I felt weird hanging out with his friends because they were his friends, which we've got over that since then. But like right after we broke up, I had like no one, so I actually started hanging out with Miss Payne during lunch, and we just like talk about things, and we've actually like are friends, but not like weird because we're like teacher student, but we're also like friends. And she's coming to my graduation party, and really like cool, and we plan on like hanging out maybe once I'm graduated and talk about things. It's just really cool. I talk to like the teachers that like they're an actual person. Some students are like, teachers are weird, don't talk to teachers. Yeah. And then this year I've really connected with Mr. Wilson, who's actually a new engineering teacher just this year. He worked here like 7 years ago and then left and moved to Texas, and now he's back. But I've talked to him about like life problems, and we like randomly will banter and stuff like that. He's the kind of person that you can like joke around with, and he doesn't like everything you say isn't an excuse to like call you down to the office. Where some teachers, if you like joke with them, they're like, oh, I'm calling you down to the office and you're gonna referral or whatever. And he's not even one of my teachers. He's just, I've gotten to know him through robotics, and I have to go through his room to get to Mark's room, and so we like mess around with each other, and it's kind of fun to like joke around with the teacher. I get some kind of the same relationship like joking wise with Mark too, so it's like people I can kind of not be all uptight around teacher wise, just kind of chill and talk about things. And I was actually talking about him before the interview about like life things that are going on, and he's like, well, here's my input on this. So just people I can talk to. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Is there any misconceptions you think people have about people with disabilities that you'd like to address or to refute?
There are so many misconceptions.
Yeah.
People instantly assume when you have any form of disability that it must be cognitive as well, which is really irritating. I've had subs at the school that like talk to me like I'm 2. Like they talk really slowly and enunciate every syllable, even if I'm in like an AP class. I'm like, I'm in an AP class. I obviously have enough mental capability to like be in this class. You don't need to talk to me like I'm 2. Thank you though. So that's definitely irritating. Other people just assume that you're not going to really go anywhere in life. Like you're in high school because you have to be in high school, but you're not going to go to college because you're disabled. Or you're not going to do anything successful with your life because you're disabled. And that's really not true. Like some things might be harder, sure, but you're still going to have a life. Like obviously there's different levels of disabled. Like there's people who literally cannot do anything for themselves. So sure, they might not do as much with their life because they just don't have the capability to do it. But my disability is purely physical. It is like you can see all of it. There's nothing else. It's not cognitive or anything like that. So a lot of people just don't really see it that way. They're like, obviously there must be more wrong with you. And I just think that's kind of weird, and it's not true too.